Hey guys, welcome to the Service Without Excuses podcast. We're up to episode number 8 already. Can't believe it's only been about 2 or less. We've recorded already about 8 episodes, so we're hitting it pretty heavy right now. We're going to talk about real world professional services. They're doing what they do every day to make the difference not only in their customers and clients' lives, but also with their staff. Every week we interview those that make differences, the challenges, the strategies, and the triumphs. Our mission is to change the beliefs that are holding us back in our business. Our purpose is to exchange strategic ideas to help each other grow. Our values are to reflect honesty, integrity, discipline, structure, equaling results. Our short term goal is to destroy the limiting beliefs that are preventing true success. Our long term goal is to grow and build an actual business and not a ticking time bomb. And our final result to make you enjoy what you do every day. Welcome to the Service Without Excuses podcast. Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of Service Without Excuses podcast. We're going to get into a subject we talked about briefly. The other day we talked about sales and marketing. What was the difference, chicken or the egg? Which one was more important? Today we're going to get into what type of marketing actually seems to work for service-based businesses based on the experience I've had, based on the feedback I've gotten from clients, based on the feedback I've gotten from friends, based on just the information that's out there, what seems to be working. And there's a variety of different ways to do that. But I'm going to get into what I feel is the definition of service-based business marketing and what a service business technically is involved with its own marketing. Service businesses need to be marketed much differently than a commodity like retail stores. You are selling the experience of the service to your customers and clients. The benefit using you is the USP, unique selling proposition, or unique selling position to the customer and clients. They buy you, the product, and the value your service offers to them, as well as the benefit that you can also offer to them. What does that mean in the easiest layman terms possible? You offer something somebody else doesn't. Yes, if you're in the carpet cleaning business, we know you offer the commodity, which is carpet cleaning. We know that you offer, if you're in restoration, you offer the commodity of cleaning up water damage or smoke damage. If you're in HVAC, you're in the commodity of fixing and repairing, air handling units and boilers. And boiler might be a little bit of a plumbing issue too as well, but you're putting in duct work and you're dealing with air handling systems and diffusers and dampers and things like that. Okay. That's the commodity because they're basing that piece of what you do as a commodity. But when they hire you, as we've discussed before, they're paying for you, the product. They're paying for you and the level of value that you deliver to them, which is, again, the product. If you're New Jersey's best carpet and tile cleaning, which is us, you're selling a product. The product is hiring us. What we do is we clean carpets, clean tile. But the reason people pay us more than they'll pay the lowball companies is because they're buying the product, which is, again, New Jersey's best. You are the product. So that's a distinct advantage you have when it comes to marketing, building your business, and growing your business, both online and offline with your business itself. You got to understand what are the best options for a service-based business because you have that niche, so to speak. It's not really a niche, but it's really a value add by being able to do something different than, a widget you buy online on Amazon or the coffee mug that I got that I love for Christmas. That is the picture of my cat and my dog. That's a commodity. Now I can say better product. It's a better built cup, better built mousetrap. But at the end of the day, that's the commodity. You're not selling that. As a service business, you're selling the work you do, the work you guarantee, the work that you perform, and the value, again, that you deliver to the customer at the end of the day. So that's part of your USP. You can always use a USP saying we do better work than the competitors because most people feel they do. I mean, everybody really thinks they do a better job. So they're going to say to the customer, you're going to get a better job done by us than, James Carpet Cleaning or Joe's Restoration or Jim's HVAC or Joe's plumbing service. It's everybody feels they do the best job. So that's not really a definitive way to separate yourself from somebody else, but it is a way you could do it. It's just not a way I'd recommend. So when you're building your marketing, you're going to build off that platform of you being the product you're going to have. And that's the USP. For us, Service Without Excuses was a name I trademarked a long time ago. I used to own a business in Pennsylvania called Clean Force One, Air Force One, but Clean Force One. Worked out good, copyrighted it. had the name, grew the business into some really nice numbers. We were up to, when I sold the business, a 12,000 square foot building with 7 trucks and about 15 employees at one point. So, it was a pretty thriving business with a few hundred pieces of equipment sitting in the building. So we grew into that. That's what we were known for. In the town we were in, we were probably the biggest company to do what we were doing. So we had that. And service without excuses was the motto we had. It's the motto I marketed. It's the motto when I did a hologram video on our website. It's the position I put in the marketplace, is that you're getting the service that we have without excuses. Means what you ask us to do, we'll do. We're not going to make excuses why we can't do something for you. It's our responsibility to take it on and be able to perform the service that we can do, or you don't pay. Never changed that USP, by the way. Still USP, and as far as I know, that's still trademarked to the people that buy it and bought it, and I'm sure they're still using it. I hope they're still using it. It's a great USP. It did me very well, and they can do whatever they feel is in the best interest since they own the company. But for me in particular, it worked very well. It was simple, got to the point, and they knew we were going to deliver. So we delivered upon the USP of service without excuses, and it didn't necessarily define, I have the biggest equipment, I have the best dry equipment, I have the best trained staff. I didn't have this. It was, we're going to give you this result. This is the benefit of hiring Clean Force One, was that. So you're building your business around that USP that makes you unique. You, the product, again, that USP. And that's how we're going to start this discussion on this podcast, is that USP, and build it from there. Because you have that position, not that brand, that position in the marketplace, and your motto of what you do and your USP that describes what you do, you can now look at this and say, okay, since I have all these things in place, since I have all these things set together, I have to figure out what my best options are. I have to figure out what are going to be the best ways to market my business, to market the message I'm trying to get across to the general public. And there is no correlation to make Joe Polish, I should say. He says this: there's no correlation between being good and getting paid for it. Unfortunately, it's the truth. It doesn't matter if you're actually offering the best service. If people don't know you offer the best service, that you are not going to give them the best value, they're not going to call you. We talked about, and we're going to get into this a little bit here, about reviews being vitally important, the social credibility of reviews, and how important social credibility is today. But it does add that level of marketing. A lot of people dismiss it. They say, well, reviews are really not anything. Listen, if a customer calls you and says they called you because they liked your reviews, they found you from another media in particular. They probably didn't find you from a review site, even though companies like ourselves, we have our own website with reviews that gets launched and gets split out to all the different platforms, Google, Bing, Yahoo, whatever that happens to be, and the different platforms too as well within that. So we have that ability to do that. But don't dismiss it. They're coming to you as an added benefit because of their reviews, because of the social credibility you have. And that's an intricate part of your marketing, because anybody can advertise on Yelp. Anybody can advertise on Google. Anybody can do Google Guarantee Services. Anybody can do Thumbtack. Anybody can do Home Advisor. Anybody can do Nextdoor. Anybody can do any of these social platforms, Amazon, whatever you want to do. Anybody can do them. You just have to meet some qualifications, some minimum ones. Yes, you get, something like Google Guarantee is a lot harder to do, but you still can do it. As long as your reputation is decent, you're going to get it. But the other ones don't even check your reputation for the most part. I can tell you that I went through a slew when I first started my business, and I fired half of them because they weren't anywhere near what they were years ago when they first started their brand, and that was their position as being very good at what they do. And I won't get into names and people, but we've all dealt with them. We've started with the one particular social platform, and it's been great, and it's kind of died off. Started out strong and right off the cliff. So you have to identify what one of those platforms works best and how you take the pizza pie of marketing that you have. You basically picture in a pizza pie, cook it into 8 slices, or just slice it into eight slices. And each part of that is a portion of where your marketing dollars go, where your marketing investment goes. You just have to figure out slice A needs to go here, slice B needs to go here. Maybe slice A and B shouldn't be cut and they should all be part of something. That's part of your marketing pie or your marketing plan too as well. So you have to find out what is the best options for you. And every company is a little bit different. When you talk to major companies, companies are doing millions, 10, 15, $30 million a year. They have a lot of medias. They might still be using billboards. Most might still be using um, uh, direct mail. They might still be using the phone books. They might still be using a lot of things because they're a big monster to feed. They're a big company in order to maintain. So to keep all those employees going, they're doing it in a variety of areas. They're doing it in the back of trucks, maybe driving billboards, TV, radio. A lot of areas that you, as the independent small business, probably can't afford to do because it's just way beyond your wheelhouse when it comes to spending. But you do have several advantages today versus what was out there years ago. Um, because of all these different platforms, the Yelp, social credibility, totally based on reviews. Thumbtack, social credibility, totally based on reviews. Angie's List is a private member site, still based on reviews that I'm aware of. Um, Google, completely based on reviews, and that's how you grow. Google is going to find you if somebody's looking for, say, a carpet cleaner. They're going to find the closest carpet cleaner to you that's on the mapping system. It's on the local services. It's on, your location, your small business, your main street shop, so to speak. It's a virtual main street shop. It's still there. So they're going to find you. But one of the factors will be those reviews. So I'm in a town called Brick, New Jersey, about 75, 80,000 people in it during regular times, full-time residents. In the summer, it's well over 100,000. It just blooms up. This is a big tourist area, and a lot of part-time residents come here, but they're not here most of the time during the winter, which is what we're in right now. There is within maybe 3 miles square, there's probably 6 carpet and tile cleaning companies, or at least carpet cleaning companies. I don't know if they all clean tile, but I'm assuming they probably do. So when you're using geolocation, which we talked about with Rob Hampton yesterday, Google in particular, that's what I'll stick to. That's what I know more than the other search engines, is going to find the closest person to you. But when they do find it, if that person has 1 star or possibly 5 stars, but 2 reviews, and then you happen to have 40 reviews and they're 4.8 stars, they're not 5, you have more social credibility. Because anybody can get their friends and family to write 2 bogus reviews. And Google is probably going to stick. They are getting very tough on that. They do check things out like Yelp and other things do, but there's a good chance they're going to stick. You're not going to get 40 fake reviews on Google. Google is going to shut you down and ban you for life if they catch you doing that. So you do 5 reviews that might be semi what they call fugazi, you're gone. And Google will ban you for life. They don't care. So because of that geolocation, the closest person is going to get there. But on the ranking, on the organic page of where you're going to be, you're still going to be number 1. I know we rank number 1. I did a lot of my own SEO. Again, when I discussed with Rob yesterday, my own content, my own posts, my own blogs, day after day, 6 and 7 days a week for a year and a half, nonstop every day. It was a key part of my marketing. And I decided either I was going to pay somebody else to do it or I was going to use the assets that I already have. What Service Without Excuses, the book is about, using the assets you have. I was going to write my own blog posts. I was going to write my own content. I was going to upload my own pictures to it, write my own story, so to speak. That was marketing, okay? And that's a piece of marketing most people won't do because it requires a ton of time and it requires a ton of creativity and requires you to build and write content that's not how you as technical speak would do it. It's how the consumer, the customer, the end user, so to speak, would be reading this content. And that's tough. And unless you're a real pro at doing it, or you're somebody like me that's actually knows how customers buy, has sold for a living for many, many years, has sold to other people, has taught people how to sell, you know how to interact, and you know how people want to buy something. They know it's a face-to-face thing. It's like I'm looking in the camera right now and I'm talking to you. I'm looking and explaining the value of what it is, but I'm looking you dead in the face and explaining what it is so you can trust what I'm saying. And of course, if you're skeptical, you can go back to that credibility of other people's reviews and things of that nature. So that's a tremendous marketing asset you have. For me, I built the social credibility of people using my service, writing good reviews. Before before I started using a separate service in order to get my reviews, uh, I did it all myself and just organically, pleaded with people, gave them a piece of paper that had go to this, to like this one. Ask them to do it. Ask them if they were members of Yelp. Ask them if they were members of, they were on Google, if they were on Thumbtack, if they were on whatever that happened to be. Nextdoor, could you go and write a review? Once I used the software like Sotellus or, Bird's Eye or whoever you want to use, it made it a lot easier because it now distributes that content being the review to those platforms for me. So I don't have to do it. And of course, it certifies with Google that it's a legitimate Google review. It certifies that if it's a Yahoo review, if there's such a thing, it's going to Yahoo. If it's going to Thumbtack, it's a certified Thumbtack review. It's a Facebook review. It's a certified Facebook review. It's an Instagram. You get the point. You get the story. So that takes organic marketing. That's what's referred to as, because I'm not paying for that other than a ton of my own time and, the creativity to do it and the knowledge that, you know how to do that in order to make that marketing work. But that was a grassroots effort. If you've ever heard the term grassroots, you probably heard it in politics a lot. But grassroots is yes, it's to a certain extent in politics, but it's also in the creativity of building a position for you in your business, in your marketplace. That does not need to be necessarily dollars spent, but you have to equate. For me, I was putting in 20 hours a week into that organic grassroots marketing. It's a ton of time, but I started the business. I didn't have as many customers. And I vow when I started the business, it was going to be based on running a business, running an infrastructure, hiring people, growing the business through people. I had no interest in being the guy on the truck every day, even though I still am. Out there every day breaking my back doing it. I would need to hire, some youth at this point to do that because I'm getting older and I'm getting up near 50 and I can only do so much without really feeling the aches and pains of age that you cannot really slow down. So that's part of using the asset you have, if you have it. Back away from the rant, as I'm known to do. What marketing, if you're not going to do that, if you're not going to do the grassroots routine to market your business, what type of marketing seems to work for service business? Review basis we're discussing. So I booked a job with a customer. I want to say maybe for Friday, and we may have actually already done the job. And she went and said, I saw your reviews on Yelp and they were tremendous. Well, all three of them probably are tremendous. We've had a bunch of reviews, but Yelp has a system of fishing things out, which it's completely based on analytics and computer software, and the software has no emotion to it. So what I found with that particular tremendous place to get business from, so I'm not knocking Yelp by any means. They are number 2 or number 1 ranked on Google when it comes to the first site you're going to find. So I'm not knocking them. Their platform is phenomenal when it comes to the credibility of where Google finds them, and you're number 1 or number 2 every time. But what it does is it searches people out that don't post on Yelp all the time. So if I have customers that might find me through Yelp, but don't post on Yelp to them, they just went there and said, oh, let me find a carpet cleaner. I'm going Yelp. They only do it once a year. Yelp will probably kick that review back out. They don't say it's a bad review. They say it's not currently recommended. I used to advertise with him, full disclosure, for several months when I first started business, and I liked them until I started seeing these reviews getting yanked. And I'm thinking to myself, again, not to go on to a rant, these are people that came through the Yelp pipeline. Pipeline being they came in through the phone calls, we booked them, they were Yelp prospects, we converted them into a client customer. There are clients and customers to win, lose, or draw, so to speak, going into the future, but there are clients. And they came in through the entire Yelp pipeline. These were people that were still having their reviews dismissed. Full throttle forward, person said, I liked your reviews. Again, all 3 when there's probably about 15 of them in there. In all 15 legitimate reviews. Could be more, but I know 15 are legitimate because they came through the Yelp pipeline. And she said the reviews are fantastic. And I'm scratching my head. I'm going, well, that's awesome. And I appreciate that. I'm glad the couple of reviews were good. But she made a decision off those 3 reviews. Now, as you've heard me say in the past, they're looking at least 5 reviews. So it's kind of, to me, when you only have 3 reviews and somebody has 30 reviews, they've been in business for 15 years, and 30 reviews have actually stuck to their thing, they're usually going to win. So I was gratified and appreciative that I gained her as a customer and client going forward. But it kind of shocked me that there was enough on there to do it. But that is the power of a review, and a well-written review can make all the difference in the world. You almost think this podcast is more about reviews than anything else, and it is to a certain extent, but it's also about basing that social credibility around your marketing. So we know that social platforms like Yelp work. We know that Google Guaranteed Services work. So I'll get into what Google Guaranteed Services is in the short term. Google Guaranteed Services is a non-organic paid program. Now, you have to qualify for the program. It has to be available in your area. There can't be a bunch of other people in the market that are doing this. They only allow so many into the program at a time. Because they don't want to overcomplicate the area, cause a bunch of competitors, too many people bidding on the same job, and you got a real problem on your hands. So, they only are going to put out what they possibly can going forward with the best solutions for the current clients they have. They don't want to oversaturate. They're not trying to sell McDonald's on every corner or Starbucks on every corner, which you kind of see sometimes. So you qualify for this, and then you after this long qualification process, you then set your budget, and your budget is whatever it is a month. Ours is in the hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I think it's probably $700 or so a month, maybe as much as 1,000 depending on peak time. So we take that budget and we put it in and we pay per lead. Now the difference between pay per click is people paying a click, you get billed for no matter what. And if you catch somebody testing the system where it's fugazi, as we say, then you can fight that with Google and try and get that money back, or it's just whatever it is. With pay per lead, it's a person looking for the job and the service you offer in the market you are marketing to. So it's specific. So, for example, I only go out so far. So I go to certain towns around me, population 350,000 around me, max. That's my Google Guaranteed Services. It doesn't mean I don't work outside the area. It's just I don't want to market outside that area because with the cost I'll get into in a second, it becomes an issue unless it's a larger job. If it's a minimum job, which a lot of them are, and I have to convert them to bigger jobs if I can, or referral and back in business, or I'm losing out. So that's how I know I can only allow that market area to be. I can't go to the far corners of Monmouth County here where it's an hour away for 135 and pay them the fee. What I found currently is costs me particularly about $25 per a lead. And you go, wow, that's real expensive for a lead. And it is, but it's your lead. So if you go through Thumbtack, if you go through, I'm trying to think of some of the other ones out there, you go through Home Advisor, you're going to pay for a lead. Home Advisor in particular, we'll go with. And they're going to take that lead, distribute the lead to a maximum of usually, I think, 5 competitors. So that lead is now being sold to 5 competitors. Now that lead might cost you $11, $12, $14 or up in a bigger community like this. In a more affluent community, in a wealthier community, in a more expensive community to live in, lead goes up. They go by house values and they figure, this is what we could charge for a lead based on the amount of leads we're getting, the amount of income people have, the amount of opportunity and times people are looking for a particular service provider. So they are looking at that and going, okay, so I could pay for the click, which means they could pay for a click, and you have to monitor and fight that and figure out where the clicks are and what time of day it's a real science. And truth be told, you should hire a professional similar to Rob or somebody like him to manage those clicks, unless you're really, really good at it. And I could tell you, I've worked on it for a long period of time. I've put a lot into it, and it's I want to rack my brain against the wall. It's a lot of work to manage those clicks. But people do it. If you got a good chunk of your day to manage those clicks, God love you. I can't do that. I have to look at what's a legitimate lead, people looking for the service that I provide in the market I have. If I didn't pick up the phone, I'm paying for it, just like you would with any other one. If I don't get the job, I'm paying for it. But the key in these businesses in today is to answer the phone as quickly as possible. And with platforms like Google Guaranteed Services, you can shut that platform off and not pay for it. And during busy times, I typically do, because my organic ranking is usually high enough to offset that. And there's no reason for me to pay them for that. Okay, so the plus and negatives. I had good organic rating in my area. People would find New Jersey's best carpet cleaning service on the first page, usually in the first or third position in the market I'm in Brick, Toms River, pretty consistently. I know that because I don't look at, what's on the computer or what somebody says, hey, I can't find you. The customers call me and tell me they found me, so I know I'm on there. It's not rocket science. I don't have to go through some analytical search to see if somebody says I can't be found on there. If a friend tells me I can't be found on there, I'm taking his word for it. But Generally, I just look at the customers that are coming in and calling, and if I get 5 people a day that call and say, "I found you online," that means they're finding me online. They're not finding me with a truck, they'll tell me they found it on the truck. So, I know that the organic will do this, but I also know that Google Guarantee has a guarantee behind them that says, "We'll guarantee a job," and I believe it's up to $2,000. Like, they'll guarantee to work up to $2,000, that you'll be happy with the job, or they'll pay up to $2,000 to reimburse you for the job. It's incredible. But what it does, it goes to the top of the page. Google Guaranteed Services with the name of your company, and that's it. Now, here's what you have to weigh when you're talking about Google Guarantee versus organic and maybe SEO and getting your web page up there and stuff like that, which is more the organic ways of doing it. That is still organic, even though it's SEO versus pay per click and campaigns and Google Guaranteed Services, which is a pay by lead service. You have to weigh what you're paying for one versus the other. So I look at this and I say, from Google Guaranteed Services standpoint, I get 5 times the amount of traffic versus the organic. So that means if I get 5 normally for let's for the purposes, let's say I get 5 organic leads a week from Google. I'm getting 25 leads from Google Guaranteed Services. Now I am paying for that lead, but they're coming there automatically, seeing me at the very top, seeing the word guaranteed, the name Google next to it, and it's pretty much, done. So it almost killed my organic, and it still does. But I have to weigh that I get 5 times the traffic. And most people that I've recommended it to, most service providers around me in different industries, not just my industry, um, say the same thing. It's still worth it at this point in time because it seems to be the best option. You're still up here at the top, and I have to weigh that I'm getting 5 times the traffic versus what I would do on my own, unless you have a very good SEO program. And for me, that's some of the things I'm going into this year with a much more aggressive co-op on SEO and much more involved and a lot more spending involved into it on a bigger marketing campaign because I want to, 100% gain the business this year. I want to grow by 100%. Aggressive goal, but it's a goal. In order to do that, I have to have a very good aggressive marketing campaign. And part of one is almost pitting one against the other to see which one performs. Now, we also don't want to cut the other one out. So when you put your marketing plans together, you have to go, okay, if I'm going to use Yelp and pay for Yelp advertising, I'm going to do pay-per-click. I'm going to do organic SEO with somebody and spend that per month. And I'm going to do a Google Guaranteed Services. That might be your pie. That might be your pizza pie for the entire year. You have to figure out what you can afford and how much needs to be allocated to each area. And what I suggest when it comes to marketing and being a student of it for many, many years and doing it in the trenches, both for other companies and myself, of large and small sizes, you have to test. You have to test which one works good for you. I think the social review-based sites are the best thing since sliced bread. And I believe SEO is the best. Proper SEO, well done SEO is the best thing you can do. I don't think offline stuff is as credible today. Referrals are offline. It's not something to read. If they're reading something, that's something to read. As we talked about, that's something online. Offline is something somebody's saying to somebody, saying, call this service provider. They did a great job. They cleaned my rugs. They look like brand new. A month later, they still look amazing. They still smell great. That's an offline person, and that's a different form of marketing. So you have to weigh into what works best to develop your marketing campaign. Understand that you should do a little bit of both. You should still do some online, some offline. I still like postcards to your customer base. But again, as I've talked about before, too many messages end up in the circular file, which is the garbage can. So offline has kind of diminished quite a bit. It's almost taken the same pathway as the phone books. It's a print advertisement. Then now people are taking the phone books and throwing them in the circular file called a garbage bag. And we know that they're taking a lot of postcards and doing the same thing. So it's not that it's a bad thing. And if your customers are ready and waiting for your offer, freaking awesome. And this will work great for you. But if they're not, it's probably going to end up in that file unless they're ready to do something in the short term with you. They're saying, I got to get the carpets cleaned in the next month. We're having a party. We're having family and friends over. I don't want them to see this. The dog has really made a mess, whatever that happens to be. You have to figure out what that does. From an online standpoint, you have so much more ability to test. So the key word in marketing is test. You have built the USP. You've built the name around you. You've built that social credibility. Now take that top, that brain, so to speak, which is what you have. That's your USP and your mantra and your system and your message to the marketplace. That's your brain. And you're going to take that thing and now you can distribute that thing into your arms, into your fingers, into your legs, into your toes, which are essentially all the little outlets, all the big outlets that you're going to try and get your message to the rest of your body. Brain, we know, controls the body, and it's going to go to every other extremity of your body too as well. Where that message goes on this finger goes here. Where your message goes on your middle finger, on your index finger, is all those tentacles of where you're trying to get your message out to. You have to figure out which one of those pieces of marketing that you're going to send, both online and offline, is going to be the most effective in your client's hands for the immediate consumption and for the future consumption of your goods and services. All right, guys. So just think about that. We'll review this real quick. You want to develop that marketing plan to incorporate both social credibility, both a mixture of SEO, social, your apps, your Yelp, your Angie's List, things like that. Your postcards, which is your offline marketing, your sales letters, which is also offline, promotional pieces, which is also offline. And one of the most powerful things we're going to talk about in a different podcast completely, because it takes an entire consumption of a podcast in order to do this, is something called joint venture. Now, joint venture is typically a marketing term or a corporate term, but joint venture is a relationship of both businesses. So I have a friend, and he's going to be a guest here on the podcast at some point, Bill Spano. Bill Spano runs one of the largest air duct cleaning companies in the country. Not just in New Jersey, definitely the biggest in the state of New Jersey. And I would say probably one of the biggest in the Northeast, but I mean one of the biggest in the country. Very successful. I see him franchising his name, multi-truck company, multi-truck company, big staff, the whole 9 yards. We're like business because I happen to clean carpets and tile and he cleans air ducts. So when I go into the house and I see dust all over the place, I look at the air ducts and I say, ma'am, sir, you ever think about having these cleaned when the last time you had them cleaned? And they say, well, we've never had them done. And I point a few things out to them, which is simple because I do understand air quality. It's kind of part of what we do. And I can easily mention that company to our customers and our clients going forward, that you should really think about having. And we have been able to do that. Vice versa, they're getting the air ducts clean, which means the air is clean, but we know that carpets are filters. So if you're stepping on a carpet, you're just taking and removing that dirt and dust back into the air of the ducts you just cleaned. So they're related businesses. Joint ventures are saying, Billy, if you happen to see both residential, commercial clients that have dirty carpets, dirty floors, you can recommend me very easily. Vice versa, I go into a home or business and I see dust and debris and I see carbon filtration around the carpets. I can now position your business to my customers and clients. That's a joint venture for another day, but that's a form of marketing that's very, very powerful. In fact, the most powerful probably out there next to social credibility, in my opinion. So figure which one works best, which piece of the pie you need to allocate to what. If it happens to be you need to have things on different applications, different review-based sites, different social sites, great. If you need to find that Facebook marketing, which I do like and do a lot of, not as much this time of the year, but when we start getting busy, I do a lot more of it, and that's a testing program. I test that to see what type of ad I'm going to run. And based on those posts is how I built that up. So Facebook marketing, Google marketing, Instagram marketing. I don't think Twitter's really a marketing standpoint, but wherever you're putting it out to, website marketing and SEO. SEO is predominantly your website and your ranking on your website and how people are finding you. So find out what piece of the pie needs to be to what piece of marketing you have. Again, it's just a pizza pie. It's a slice. And you figure out, do I need a double slice for this, a single slice? Do I need that slice cut in a third? What that happens to be. Find out what works best for you. I know that social sites, credibility, Facebook, Google guaranteed services, pay-per-click for the most part, seem to work very, very well for service-based businesses. And again, joint ventures, we can get into another time. Figure out what works best for you. Test it, try it, and figure out what piece of the pie needs to go where. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us on a brand new episode of the Service Without Excuses podcast. We discussed front-end marketing. I'm not getting into back-end marketing today. That's another end episode, and that's also tied to joint venture. But do your due diligence. Figure out what works best for you. Not everybody has the same thing in the same market, but there are a lot of options out there to market and promote your business. And today it's a much more level playing field because of the power of the internet, because of the power of social credibility, social media, SEO. your ranking can be up there. As Rob said yesterday, he can become a number one competitor in just about any market in the country with 6 months of SEO. It's the truth. You have that ability to control that, depending on, how fast you want to scale in your investment. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. And we'll see you next time on the Service Without Excuses podcast. We got 2 amazing guests coming up next week. A good friend of mine, Scott Smith, that has grown a nice business in one of the smallest markets in the country. And he did it old school, but he's got a multi-truck company in a small area, something you just don't see. Usually all of his competitors are mom and pop owner operators, and Scott is running a multi-truck business and kicking ass. The other guy I have is Ben Surrey. Ben is a whole different animal. I remember Ben just started and was looking for advice, and now he runs a multi-million-dollar enterprise outside of Seattle, both restoration and carpet and tile cleaning, monster-sized company from nothing. So those are my guests coming up next week. Guy that did it in a small market that nobody can do it in, and a guy that did it from scratch and built this monster enterprise, and he's young. He's under 40 years old. He's brilliant, and you'll see exactly why I like Ben a lot and why I want him as one of our guests. All right, guys, thanks so much. We'll see you next time.